Resilience, focus, discipline, courage. Some of the key ingredients in manifesting your vision into a reality. My name is Kim Niles. Join me as we delve into what it takes to make your mark.
Hello and welcome back to the Make Your Mark Talk Show. Just in case you forgot, my name is Vanessa Spence and I will be your host for today's episode. Remember to follow us on Instagram at makeyourmark.ca and log on weekly for updates on our website at www.makeyourmark.ca. Let's get into it. Today we have a very special guest. We have Stachen Frederick, who is the Executive Director of the Braids for AIDS Foundation, as well as the Executive Director of Frontminds Community Center. And she is also a Community Development Manager.
Yes.
Thank you, Stachen, for being with us today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
No problem.
Yes.
So I really just wanted to get into your story of how you got started. And I feel like that always kind of goes to your younger years.
Right.
You know, because what you learn in your younger years really informs what you do in your older years. So tell me about Little Stachen.
Little Stachen. Well, Little Stachen grew up in Trinidad. I think one of the things that has always been an innate characteristic of myself is wanting to help people.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up, I was nicknamed Florence Nightingale because I always just want to like fix and support and help, people. But, in the Caribbean, and I think this is a lot with, when it comes to immigrant families or whatnot, if you're smart, it's look at getting into the sciences, become a doctor, become a lawyer, become an engineer. And so that was the stream that I was pushed into when I was growing up in the Caribbean, even go through the science stream. Even though that I had some teachers that, said to my parents, she's very creative. Why don't you look at some sort of arts or, if you're looking at things like marketing or communications. But again, I was good in sciences. Mm-hmm. So went through that stream, and in the Caribbean, you have something called O-levels and you have A-levels, which is sort of the British system. Mm-hmm. So I specialize in biology, chemistry, and maths. And then I
was like, right over my head.
But that was actually the grounding of experimenting and trying out new things, and sometimes you fail and sometimes you make a good experiment. So that was really also somewhere that I could play with my creativity. So I graduated, and then I got a scholarship to do chemistry at the University of Ottawa. And it was in my second year that I did an elective around psychology, and realizing that my part that I thought was the part for me, which was, again, do chemistry, go to medical school, and then specialize in child psychiatry, I realized that I could do psychology, and that will get me into the field of where I wanted to be working with children, but I didn't have to go through medical school. And that's not what I wanted. I didn't want to shake test tubes for the rest of my life if medical school didn't work out, and I didn't really want to have to be dealing with, sort of surgery and all that of medical school. I just wanted to help people. And so I think that in and around my 20s is when I kind of really focused into my passion.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see, what I find so interesting about that story is that, back home, they want to push you in that science and all that good stuff, but you had the means. There were things there put in place for you to be able to go down that stream.
Right.
But, here in Canada, there are people who do want to go into the sciences or being pushed into the sciences, but there are not, frameworks set up so that they can do those things.
Right. And that's a very good point, and that's what I realized. For a lot of people who grew up in the Caribbean, you see people who look like you, who are teachers. You see people who are lawyers, doctors, because the majority are blacks in the Caribbean. So you see people who are in professional positions that are in those fields. And so that you could then see that you could achieve that. And then when you come here, it's sort of the reverse. When I listen to the experiences of others, it's quite different from what I, grew up in. So even my father, he was the general manager of the airport, and my mom was the deputy auditor general. So again, I've always seen people in positions of power, and so that's how my framework has been different.
Okay. Yeah. And was that kind of the one difference that you see from traveling from Trinidad to Canada? What was that big difference? What's the biggest difference?
I think it is the level of racism and the level of discrimination that I see here, and that people lack a sense of understanding of history. Now, that doesn't mean that, for example, in Trinidad, that people lack that understanding of history, because when we look even back to slavery, many of us don't know the particular country that we have come from. However, we have a deeper understanding of the impact of Black people in our founding of Trinidad, in the founding of Jamaica, in the founding of all the different islands. So I think that piece is what is missing for a lot of youths here in Canada, a lot of people, not just, young people.
Right. And, going back to your work with Frontlines, what kind of frameworks are you setting up so that people can see these things?
That's good. So just recently we got funding from Canadian Heritage, and one of the things for this particular program is that I want young people to understand the impact or the role that STEM has played in their history. So for example, understanding that slaves use science, technology, engineering, and maths to help them move to the north. Because if you know where mosses grow on the trees, that helps to direct you north. And they use different mathematics, whether it's different angles, to do their projections of how to move to north. So for me, that is important for us, not just to have STEM programming, because I think that's what is now the fad of the time. Let's do STEM experiments. But again, if people don't see themselves in that work, in that, and understanding that their ancestors had a part to play in that, I think we're setting up for failure. So even within the program, yes, we're going to have young people engaging in STEM activities, but going deeper to say that there's a history of your people in this.
That is wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. We're going to take a short break, but we will be right back.
From a tender age, I recognized that I was not the average girl. I was always opinionated, outspoken, and for the most part, unapologetic. I was born to lead, to inflict positive change, to serve. I was born a leader. Harnessing this internal drive led me to spearheading several businesses while unlocking potential within large organizations in director roles throughout the city. While on this quest, I discovered my love for people and passion for personal development. Throughout my career, I have mentored hundreds of individuals, both personally and professionally, channeling my belief of self-care and with an avid love for fitness. Daily, I nurture my mind, body, and soul, embracing the very act of self-love. I truly do believe that you cannot give what you don't have. With a commitment to living on purpose and within my purpose, my personal mantra is to leave better than I met.
Hello, and we're back on the Make Your Mark Talk Show with Stachen Frederick. Before the break, we were talking about the work that you're doing at Frontlines, which is absolutely amazing. And seeing it from the outside, what Frontlines was before you had stepped in, looks like it was on the brink. And then you stepped in as one of the youngest executive directors, and not only the youngest, but as a Black woman. How has that experience been for you?
I think there's so many different pieces to that. One, from the impact of that for other young people, knowing that there's a woman, a young black woman in a position of power, so that those young people can look up to me. So, sometimes I'll walk in and I'm in my dresses or whatnot, and, the young girls will say, "Oh, I love your dress," right? And I want for them to see what, yes, a young black woman looks like in a position of leadership, right? But then also too is the number of dynamics that I have to interact and deal with, whether it is, if it's another government representative, or if it's another agencies. And I remember one time somebody walking into Frontlines and fully led a conversation with me, and at the end of the conversation said, "Well, please tell the executive director that I was here." And I just said, "Oh." And this was a white woman that I had this interaction with, and it just thought of me is that I don't look like the typical.
But what is it supposed to look like?
Right, exactly, right? What does it look like? But I think for that particular individual, I did not have that persona of what she thinks an executive director, should look like. And then another city staff came in one time, and I was actually dancing with the kids, and he said, this, I've never seen an executive director, be dancing with or interacting with the kids like that. But I think that is what makes my work even more successful, and why I'm successful in receiving funding is because when I speak on paper, I talk from lived experiences. I remember 3 months in being in the job is witnessing the aftermath of a shooting that happened just about a minute away from Frontlines, and saw kids stamping down Western Road and trying to enter into our building. I've been to a funeral of a young man that 6 months in being in the role, and his 2 brothers were in our summer camp. And I remember sitting down and said, I don't want to have a career of funerals. I want to have a career of, weddings and graduations, and those are the things that I want to be part of. So again, even in the impact on myself is that this work is real. It is, especially when you see boys that look like my, cousins, my brothers or whatnot, that I have a dual role to ensure that there's a space always and forever for them. So there's so many different things to think, but also too in this role of me creating a pathway for other women or other blacks in this field, to whether it's to support, to mentor, to hire, to coach, all that different pieces is part of my understanding as being this young black executive director.
Right. And I think that's kind of a testament to making your life your activism. Because we see nowadays a lot of people, they post something on Instagram and they say, yes, that's my part. I'm an activist, right? And that is your part. That can be your part. But what are you doing in your life to perpetuate what you're doing on social media, right? So being able to live what you speak is very important. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think a lot of people, we live in a society where it's just about a posting. You post, you say this, but is that true deep work that's more important, and you make most of the impact? And you said, when you said that quote just now, I took a different meaning from it. Everybody has their part. I'm not the person that will be at City Hall with a placard, right? I will not be, that person that, sits on a bunch of committees. I used to be that person, not in terms of plaque, but sitting on a bunch of committees. But sometimes I got very tired of people just talking and not doing, and that's why I don't sit on a lot of committees anymore. I will do the work within my little space and in my communities. That's where I can, best do my work.
Wonderful. Yeah. And even if we want to move to the work that you do with Braids for AIDS,
Yes.
Let us know how that all came about.
Yeah, so Braids for AIDS started about 11 years ago. And that started, I always say I'm a rebel with a cause. And so I was part of an organization, and I felt the organization simply had me in the organization as a token black girl. But the voices of the community or the voices of myself wasn't really being heard. So I knew that I just had to find a way to raise funds for the things that the community was saying that they wanted. And then one day I was sitting down and I was about to get my hair braided, and I saw the word AIDS pop out of the word braids. And that was sort of the moment of saying that I will raise fund. I would package these red, black, and white beads, and I would raise funds. And then the organization just have grown over the years. So, having programs in the prison, programs in hair salons, programs in schools, in libraries, having international campaigns, so whether in Australia, Anguilla, Jamaica, Trinidad, all over. So, it really just started as my therapeutic outlet. And I think a lot of people, you hear people say people get into psychology or social work for their own therapy, right? But Braids for AIDS was my therapy. I think I've healed from my experience. It was a very traumatic experience for me as a black woman being in that organization and experiencing a number of different isms like racism, sexism, ageism, all those different pieces. And that's why I think now that I've healed from that particular situation, that Braids for AIDS, I'm at that place where I'm ready to let go of Braids for AIDS.
Okay.
Yes. I've said it and I keep on putting it out there that, the right person will come aboard. I always say that Braids for AIDS was sent above for me, because just the way that it came up, I'm sitting on my couch and just like that, Braids for AIDS came up. It wasn't like if I was going through some sort of business planning, soul searching. Yeah. It just came about, right? So I know it was just a channel for me to get my healing and for me to do my work. But hopefully that there will be somebody that will be able to, take that sort of lantern and continue on with it.
That's great, and I really enjoy the fact that you spoke about your healing, but also about the letting go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a quick break, but I really want to get into those two pieces in the next segment. So we'll see you guys then. We really wanted to get into the healing and the letting go. So how has Braids for AIDS actually healed you? Because a lot of people, we just kind of walk through life with chips on our shoulder, and we don't really recognize those things. They come out in our decisions, they come out in our actions, but we can't say them. Right. You know what I mean? We don't actually understand them for ourselves. So how has the journey of Braids for AIDS helped you in your healing?
Yeah. I think the first and foremost thing was that I had a voice. And I think for many people who are dealing with different traumas is that they're not speaking and not having their voice heard. So I think that piece, just that vehicle for voice was important, but then also action. And I think that is in everything of that healing process, not just, people could voice. They could voice, but then it turns to gossip. And then it becomes voice that then turns into the same sad story every single time. That every time you hear that person, they're telling you about their trauma, but then the action. And so moving that piece of having the opportunities to take action. And I remember, again, when I was going through this situation, one of the managers who was overseeing me and who I found very oppressive, what she said to me was, I know you're moving to Toronto, and if you want to have a career in this field, you will learn how to shut up. So that's what she told me.
A she?
Yes.
Okay.
So white, older woman of significant privilege. And so she said that to me. So when I say this thing about healing, it was, one, I had my voice. Now with Braids Fades, I was getting to do the things that I wanted to do. And this is the action of doing. But then through that action, those same people were people that I was now, programs that I was donating into the program, saying this is where I want the money going because now the position has changed. Or now those same people reaching out for partnerships. Right? So I think that was in my sort of healing where the tables have turned and the dynamics, have shifted. But then also too,
I really want to get into the action.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to talk about it.
Yeah.
But to actually get up off the couch and do something, a lot of people, it's really hard for them to just muster up that energy, muster up that to get up and do something about the situation that they're in.
Right.
So how was you taking that action? How was it for you?
Right. So I think this is where personal agency, because you're absolutely right. There's people that, you go through this thing, but then how do you take action? But I think that is personal agency, understanding where your connections are, where, your circle of influence, people will talk about that. So for me, it was me going out there and making sure that I'm making those connections that will help me get to where I needed to get. So if it's, at that point in time, there was the, African Caribbean Council on HIV/AIDS, and, me going to them and saying this is what was happening in the organization, me documenting what was happening, and it's funny that you said it, because yesterday I met with a young woman. And that's the thing, I meet with so many different young girls who want to meet with me. They want to understand my journey. They want, assistance and whatnot. And I'm listening to her. And she's going through a very similar situation of being in an environment that has been very oppressive. And as I listen to her, she's just stuck feeling, downtrodden, depressed, and that she's so afraid even to send an email from her work email to her personal email showing that this is what is going on, because she feels that her manager is being is sort of overseeing everything, right? Micromanaging her. And I had to step back and say, because for me, I'm like, I just want to shake you, right? And say that you have it with you and within you. And that's one of the things that I think sometimes people don't realize, and that's why they're stuck. And that's probably the difference with me, is that I know that there's a power within me. I think it might be my faith. I think it might be the people who I have around me that has always said that it is within you. So when I was a frontline counselor and working with women who have been survivors of violence, the difference between one and another was that understanding that within myself I have the capacity to change my situation. And so for me, I know that within all the different situations that I find myself, I have the ability to change it. And I don't blame others for my sort of failures, but I understand as well that there are structural challenges in society that puts people at risk. So there's a complex thing, but I think that personal agency and understanding of thyself is key and important to moving forward.
Right.
Yeah.
So even with Braids for AIDS and HIV, it's a very taboo topic.
Right.
A lot of stigma attached to it. And, we were talking about this earlier, but people get into businesses and do things because they know that, people are going to like this.
Right.
But when you think about HIV and AIDS, that's not something...
Right.
A lot of people are like, what? No, I don't have it. No, right? So how is moving forward with the organization But just knowing that this is a very highly stigmatic, topic that you're talking about, how do you move forward without all that? Oh my God, this is a great subject to talk about. You know?
Right. What I think is that with Braids for AIDS, we have the beauty, we have the hair piece, and I think that's what sells everybody. So even in the detention center with the young men, a lot of them just come because they want to get a braid up, and they will literally they will tell us, "Yo, miss, just come for a braid up," right? But then at the end of the conversations and some of the evaluations, they will say, like, I learned something really important, right? And I want to share this with my brethren on the unit, right? And I think that is our piece, that we have that around hair and beauty, that we can talk about a highly stigmatized topic. One of the things that I always say is that, I am all, Black empowerment. I live, breathe, eat everything. If you come to Frontlines, you're seeing Black youth, Black staff, like I'm in Braids for AIDS, you see the same sort of model of engagement, right? And if you love the Black community, you cannot just, excite one thing that you don't want to work on. And I'm going to fix, I'm going to be on this because this is the fat of the thing. You have to attach yourself to causes that are meaningful and that will impact our community in deeper ways, because HIV/AIDS is one of the leading causes of death amongst our people. Right? And so exactly with that, we need to attach ourselves to that in whatever way. Like, somebody may not be the person that is the forefront person. So even my staff, who at Braids for AIDS, and she loves what she does. A lot of people, so you're the condom girl, right? Because she's so much talking about it, right? So you will have some people who are the forefront. There's me, who at one point in time I used to be called the condom girl, right? But now my role is around writing grants and doing all those sort of partnership development to bring in funds. Like, everybody has a part to play in an issue. So with Braids for AIDS, I think that is also the good part, is that we try to put people where their skill set are at, and just say, hey, you're going to be giving to a cause, whether it's your time, whether it's your money, whatever it is that you could bring in terms of helping our community move forward.
Right.
Yeah.
So not, keeping in mind, not being scared of the cause that you are helping, but just showing up for this cause that affects our people, and then moving forward, letting this cause inform you, and then moving forward as a community. That's wonderful. Wonderful. So we are going to take another short break, and we will see you guys in a little bit.
It took a lot to get to this place, to feel comfortable to wear my own hair. It took a lot of reflection and coaching and support from the team here, and of course my family. I know my husband really was looking forward to this experience of me exposing my hair, but I was afraid. I won't lie, I was afraid. I didn't know how it would come out. I had been so used to wearing units that I couldn't imagine myself exposed with such a short cut, my jawline and everything just kind of out there. But all in all, I have to say, it was definitely a freeing experience, and I'm so grateful for it. And I definitely would recommend it to anyone who has that self-doubt or that unsurety about exposing natural hair. I definitely would take that chance.
Hello, and we are back with Stachen Frederick. Thank you for being here once more. So you are the executive director of Braids for AIDS, executive director of the Frontlines. You won the L'Oreal, Woman of Worth. Wonderful. Yes. You now have a partner, and you just got engaged. So congratulations.
Thank you.
How does one balance all of these things?
I think one of the things that I have always done was just I always aligned myself to things that I love doing, so it didn't really feel like work, right? So I was just so engaged. As I get older, and also dealing with sort of like health challenges or whatnot, I am becoming better able at saying no. And so, I think, you gave a little fraction, talking about front lines. I do some, grant consultancy work. I'm going off to do my MBA in August. I'm taking care of a family member that's not well. And so, I'm becoming so much better at just saying no, and delegating, and trying to bring people alongside me that have the same alignment with me in my spirit. And I sometimes I see a lot of people, they chatty with everybody, and they just bubbly with everybody, and I'm like, I don't know if I could be all that, because my energy is quite limited, and people bring their own energy. And so when you see me just kind of being to myself, it's because I'm conserving my energy.
Right.
And I'm also very much, I have some friends like you want to meet up for dinner, you want to meet up fast, and I'm like, no, that just no. And then also too, when you have some people who are chronic late people, and then it infringes into like my time, because I was recently diagnosed with something called fibromyalgia, and my energy by the end of the day, like I'm like plummeting down in my energy. So like some days I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go bang 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 bang, and like just do everything in one, and so that I could have a few down days, right, where I'm not going as much, and I could just kind of focus in. So it's sort of understanding my time and energy. That I've become really good at that. Saying no to people. Just recently somebody asked me to write a support letter and say, these are all the different things that you could assist with, and I had to send them a note. I'm like, I'm taking out about 5 things on this list. I'm only going to be able to support you with one, because this is my time and this is my energy, and I don't have much of it.
But how does one get over that fear of missing out? Because when you see someone across the room, even though you want to preserve your energy and do that stuff, you see someone across the room and you're like, oh my God, that can be an amazing opportunity. Or, if I go with my friends, I haven't seen them in this long. What if they have something new for me to do? Blah blah. How do you get over that fear of missing out?
Is that called FOMO?
Yeah. Hashtag FOMO.
I don't have it. Right? Like I think I heard somebody say it once. Maybe it was Emily Mills, I'm not sure. But I think she said something about strategic networking. And it's not being calculated or anything like that. But if you know your energy is limited, okay, if somebody's going to be at this event, okay, I'm going to make a mind to meet this person, right? And just understanding that the world is so small, and at some point in time, you can meet that person. Or stalk them on LinkedIn and ask them to go for coffee, right? And so you have to know what you're capable of and what are the avenues to meet the people that you want to meet, right? But also too, if you have good people around you, your friends, they will also understand like your situation, and then they will be mindful to say, when you say no, it's not about them, but you're trying to take care of yourself. Because I can't be good for my friends if I'm not good, right? So I need to be in a good place mentally, spiritually, financially. And if we're going out every single time to eat food, that's getting into my financials, right? We got a problem, right?
I want to get deeper into that, because I know you do the grant writing piece around the community.
Yes.
And money, as much as I don't want it to be so important, it is so important for the nonprofit work that we do, but also just to live and to eat and to have a roof over your head. These things are very important, but we get caught up in the material.
Right.
So how do you balance that, and what advice do you give to people?
Whew, I think we say in life, a lot of things come down to money. I can't make you say money doesn't buy you happiness, right? But I say it does buy you a happy meal, and that makes you happy, right? Everything does come down to money. And even as a not-for-profit is a business. It's just that the business does not tie to like shareholders.
Right.
So you need to run your not-for-profit as a business, because there will not be jobs for your staff. There will not be a building for your participants. So you have to run it fiscally responsible. And I've had that conversation. This is not just about going out and just spending money. It has to make sense, and everything is in a process. So for me, that's why I made a decision to go do my MBA, because I realized this world is about business. So at Frontlines, yes, is writing grants, and it's looking at individual donors and looking at sponsorship, but also having a social enterprise, a catering business, making sure that the revenue is diversified, so that if the change of government happens and that there's cuts to different types of funding, that you have your hand in many different pockets, so that you're not sort of putting your eggs in one basket, right? So that's important. But then in this work, not-for-profit work, it does not pay a lot of money in this sector. But one of the things is that if you are able to, again, grow an organization, that there may be opportunities for your salary to also increase based on the revenue that you're bringing into an organization. And I think even for people in corporate worlds, a lot of them are also having side hustles. And I feel that is just the life that, we're moving into. And I always say too as well, I think the way of movement is, of course, sort of technology, and looking at how technology is an avenue of bringing in funding, that when you sleep at night, that there's money coming in. And I think, we have to get our young people starting to think about that, but also getting people to think about entrepreneurship as yourself. So investing in yourself as an entrepreneurship, because you bring a skill. For me, I am a grant writing consultant. I don't have to put any money out in terms of products.
Right.
It's myself. I bring myself to the table, and I give that knowledge, and nobody could take that away from me. Nobody could send me a bad product from China because it's myself, right? It's this. So I think, getting people to understand that skill-based entrepreneurship is a very key and vital part to society and growth.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I guess to cap it off, throughout your whole journey, what is one sentence you can give to a young entrepreneur or someone starting their nonprofit? What is one piece of advice you would give them in order to keep pushing forward? Because this world, there's so much resistance, but in order to have that resilience, what can you say to them to help them keep pushing forward?
Okay, so probably it's two things.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Two things. There's somebody waiting for you for your service. Whatever that idea is, don't give up, because there's somebody waiting for your service. So that, and then the second thing, and this is what my brother, just before me, he always said to me, always be excellent so that you will not be begging on people's door. That people will come to you for your service and your intelligence. And that's what he said to me. I think he said to me that at age 12 years old.
Wow. And
that's what. We're 1 year apart. So the eldest brother is 2 years from me, and the brother just before me is 1 year. And that's what he said to me, and that has always just kept through my career, always be in a position of excellence. People will knock at your door, not the other way around.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Stachen. Is there anywhere that our viewers can find you?
So Stachen Frederick, that's me on Instagram, but if you're looking for Braids Fades, everything Braids Fades, our website, Twitter, Instagram, Braids Fades, and Frontlines is the same thing, frontlines.to, Instagram, frontlines.to.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much, Stachen. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.